fantasy move for a 5-0 team right
That's
there.
right. I'm staying on top of it.
God, I hope Ray doesn't win. Adam Thielen's had a great year.
Put it here this time, hopefully. We tried to do it last time.
Now recording on my phone.
Sal commented on our Instagram post.
Do this to yourself.
But it's off the tracks. You know how it goes. It's gonna be a fun one tonight.
It's off the tracks. Jet. Rafe. We're back. Rafe, you're playing a little coy right now. You know, you're playing down to my mood a little bit, and you know what? That's just not fair. That's just not right. Oklahoma City Thunder, your Oklahoma City Thunder, up 3-2 in the NBA Finals. Quite how I told you it was going to go to in Game 5, actually. Yeah. A little worse, actually, honestly, from Tyrese Halliburton. We'll get into all of that in just a moment. Rafe, can't imagine you're doing anything but great, but I'll ask the question anyways. How you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't think it's over yet. So, I'm not. It's not over till it's over. It's not over till it's over. Okay. I, regardless of how the game went last night, I pretty much penciled in a win for Indiana in Game 6. I won't say I'm not going to put it in black ink, but I'll pencil it in, and I still kind of feel that way. We'll see what comes out on the Halliburton injury. Hopefully, it's nothing too bad. I presume he'll still be on the court. Regardless, again, as long as it's nothing too bad. At this point, everybody's pretty well playing hurt or injured or a little bit of something here or there. But yeah, great game for me anyway. Sorry.
One guy that kind of coming into this game, I was a little concerned. You talk about injuries, you talk about banged up. Jalen Williams took a lot of hits in Game 4, and I mean a couple really hard falls, and it is just that time of the year when everyone's playing with a little bumps and bruises. You would not have been able to tell the difference in Game 5 with Jalen Williams, who had 40 points, an unbelievable performance from him. Knocked down 3 threes, was just elite all night. And while I'm going to absolutely crap on the Indiana Pacers defensive game plan a little bit later, that should not take away from what Jalen Williams did in this game. You're wearing a Caleb Williams shirt today, and when we first loaded in, I thought it was a Jalen Williams shirt, and I was like, man,
it is not. No,
really kicking it in.
It's Caleb, 18, Bears football. Sorry.
Right, which honestly, shameful that your team is about to win the NBA Finals and you are sporting the Chicago Bears right now. But that's neither here nor there.
I wear shirts on game day. I wear shirts on game day. That's what I've been doing.
We really saw, and I've kind of talked about this as well off the pod, but Jalen Williams being called a top 20 player in the NBA, and I'm not sure, or top 15 player in the NBA rather. And wasn't sure how sold I was on that, but the duo tonight in Game 5 between Shea and Jalen Williams, I mean, it really showed just how good of a player that Jalen Williams can really be.
Yeah, the only really question mark for Jalen Williams throughout the regular season, but specifically the postseason, was his consistency. He's had great games, but he's also had some down games. But yeah, his first 40-point game of his career, and a heck of a time to decide to go out and do that. Like you said, he took some hard falls in the previous game, but he came out. That's the most bounce I've seen him play with in a while. Like it looked like he'd been on a week or 2 week break, and everybody else hadn't been. So it was pretty fun to watch that. Very cool to see that after people within the Thunder fan base have been questioning Jalen Williams' spot on this team after certain games, but it was cool to see that happen. And I think Jalen Williams is the key, obviously, to this team and this team's success this year. And when he's going, they're a tough team to beat. There was a lot of other things that the Thunder did well in this game that led to this win. I thought their spacing on the offense was better. Their passing was a lot better. They kind of got back to what they do defensively as well. Obviously, adjustments will have to be made from Indiana, and they will be made. But just a much better job. It kind of looked like the Thunder team that we'd seen in series past and throughout the regular season. Credit to the Pacers, who kind of got them out of that in games 3 and 4. The Thunder able to squeak one out in 4, but yeah, 3 and 4, the Thunder just didn't look like themselves, and a lot of that was because of the Pacers' defense and how physical they played with them on defense, and wasn't there. And I think that's something you would like to get into.
I understand coming out, game plans are a little bit different. But once you get into the meat of this game and you see how the Thunder are playing, and they didn't shoot, no, they shot really well from 3. I was going to say they didn't shoot lights out from 3. They knocked down almost half of their threes. And a majority of those were literally wide open. I'm talking no one in the vicinity, no one even making an attempt to get out for 3. Some of these were on second chance points. The Jalen Williams 3 that put them back up 5 late in the game when the Pacers had somehow cut it to 2. That was a second chance basket. There were the Pacers gave up 19 offensive rebounds. I guess they had 18 of their own, but it just felt like every time the Pacers were kind of making that little push and they were starting to do the thing again. They would get it within 7, they'd get it within 6, got it within 2. Something would happen whether it would have been an offensive rebound, a silly turnover, which we'll get into that as well because that's what lost in the game. For me, there are two things that just boil my blood more than anything in the entire sport, and it's missed free throws and allowing offensive rebounds. The Pacers allowed too many, in my opinion. There were way too many second chance points for a team like this that it's hard to score against. I don't think the Pacers have they scored. They haven't scored 120 points. I don't think in a game yet this series.
I don't believe so.
When you're
checked real quick though.
When you're already playing a team that's this good defensively, you need to hold them to one stop, or you need to keep the possessions even. It's got to be one stop and done on defense. And that wasn't the case last night. I thought that was a really big factor in this one because they fought and they got back into it. Had an issue with the defensive game plan. Had an issue with some of the lineups that were being thrown out there. I think at one time you had Ben Shepherd, who is statistically from plus minus standpoint the worst player in this entire finals, and Tony Bradley on the floor at the same time. Tony Bradley gave you some pretty good minutes last night. It's just a shame because Game 4 really hurt. It really hurt. But in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, you got an opportunity, and the players are talking in post-game, saying, yeah, we love the challenge. We're ready to go. And then you sit there and you're thinking, okay, these guys are confident. And Game 4 almost hurts worse now that this Game 5 opportunity is out of the way. And after listening to everything for the last couple of days, your star player comes out and doesn't even knock down a single field goal, 0 for 6 from the field. Understand he's dealing with an injury. It's the NBA Finals, though. Like you said, everyone's dealing with injuries. Everyone's going through some things right now. We'll come back to this in a moment. I don't want to hog the mic too much, but really had issues from a Pacer standpoint with a lot of things. But the two things that I can't get off of were the offensive rebounding and the defensive effort.
Yeah, coming out of halftime, I felt similar to the way it was going with the way Game 1 was going, in the sense of it felt like the Thunder should have been up more. They weren't. The Pacers were within striking distance, especially for Pacers basketball. They were within striking distance. And then, sure enough, here they come, and they cut it to 2. The difference being, 1, the Thunder did a better job of responding and answering that punch. And 2, yeah, there was some silly mistakes, some silly turnovers, some tough shots that the Pacers were taking that made it difficult for them to take the lead and then maintain a lead through the rest of the quarter. Now, some of that was the Thunder defense, sure, but there were some bad passes, some guys going to cut, but throwing it to where they were instead of where they're cutting, and just things like that. Defensively, the Thunder did a good job of trying to limit paint touches. We've talked about how that's how the Pacers want to get their offense going, collapse the defense, spray it out to shooters. They did a good job of containing that as much as they could. I have questions about how the Thunder came out in the second half and the way they kind of let the Pacers. Part of that was the Pacers coming out and taking it, and TJ McConnell coming out and being a spark plug and just really owning that third quarter to will the Pacers back into the game. But there's a lackadaisical type of feeling for the Thunder on offense and defense that I wasn't too happy with. So try and sniff that out, because look, the Thunder are going to shoot this well in the next game in Indiana. It's going to have to be. We can talk about how hard closeout games are. Now it's a closeout game on the road. Now it's a closeout game on the road on the finals. So it's going to be incredibly difficult to win. If they come out and play like they did in Game 4, not going to win that. Going to have to play closer to what they did tonight, or not tonight, but last night. That starts with good pace, good space on the offensive end, and being aggressive, being physical on defense like they were. But yeah, it turned out to be a close game there for a little bit.
Yeah, and it was really weird because it had gotten to a 2-point game, and I just got that feeling. I was like, wow, they're gonna do this. They're really gonna do this. It's Game 4 is not like even matter anymore. Whatever, forget about it. Go and win on your home floor, whatever. And then, I mean, the backcourt was just, it was brutal all day outside of TJ McConnell. But really late down the stretch, just stupid turnovers, silly turnovers, unforced mistakes. There were a lot of turnovers in this game, 22 turnovers for the Pacers compared to 11 for the Thunder. There's your ball game. And I mean, all the other things that I talked about in my first point, but really, when it comes down to it, there's your ball game. I thought Siakam played really well, but it just early on, especially, turned the ball over way too quick. He was going way too fast. Halliburton turns the ball over 3 times, and that's not normal. Nembhard, he turned it over 4 times. They were right there. They were ready to throw the final punch of the game. That's the way the Pacers play, and that's the way you got to play on the road in the NBA Finals, is hang around, throw the final punch, throw the final haymaker. Unfortunately, they dug too deep of a hole early on, and and going back to the turnovers, and going back to that third quarter from TJ McConnell, who stepped up in this game big time, and it was really fun to watch. When TJ McConnell is playing well, I really don't think there's when he's on your team and he's playing really well, there's no one else that you want to watch, and it's awesome. What if I wouldn't have mind seeing him in there later in the game? Wouldn't have minded it at all. But that third quarter, they made that push because of TJ McConnell, yes, but they weren't turning the ball over as much, and they were forcing more turnovers for the Thunder. I don't have the exact number here in front of me, the third quarter turnover difference. But the Pacers, I believe, won that battle, and they played a really good third quarter. They set themselves up. I thought, here we go. They were down 8 going into the fourth. I really thought that there was a chance. And I hadn't felt that all game until the McConnell push, and then they got it to 2, and I really thought they were going to win this game. Joke's on me. Shouldn't have done that. I said that in the last video that I shouldn't have. I should never think that. But yeah, I have a few more things about this Pacers game, but yeah, really I felt like this game was really down to turnovers, and a lot of that was forced because of the Thunder defense.
Yeah, the turnover battle was a key coming into the series, and will continue to be a key through the rest of these games. I do want to kind of highlight Cason Wallace, who had a good game. He's been absent all series. His points definitely helped alleviate pressure from Shea, a little bit from Jalen Williams as well. Wiggins had another good game in this game as well. But really, I mean, Jalen Williams was the star of this game. Obviously, he had 40 points, and just like I said, the way he was attacking, I haven't really seen it this postseason. We've seen flashes of that, and kind of his playmaking ability for himself. And he was able to do it consistently all game. And if he can get to a point to do that, then he's, you know, I've thought this. I've had thoughts of this since his second year jump that he had last year. And I don't want to make this too, you know, a Jalen Williams episode, but there's
It should be. He scored 40.
True.
It should be a Jalen Williams centric episode.
I think there is an upside there to where he can be the best player on the Thunder team. He can overtake Shea as the number one guy. He's still got a ways to go. And I've thought, and I wanted to tweet it out during his second year and the jump he was making and just kind of some things I was seeing. But I think he has that ability to be that guy for Oklahoma City. Now, like I said, it's going to take a lot. Shea is unbelievable. He was the MVP of the league. But I think the ceiling is there for Jalen Williams, and we kind of saw a little bit of that in this game, and that helped propel the Thunder to the victory.
So, with this Jalen Williams thing, I think this is something I would like to take a bite out of a little bit. I mean, would you consider? I would probably consider. Would you? This is tough. I wouldn't consider him a better scorer.
He was not as better
obviously,
scorer yet.
We're talking
no.
upside. We're
Right.
talking upside. We're
Right.
talking upside, of course. Do you think he'll be a better defender?
I think the thing with it is, one is his body type. He's much bigger than Shea. He's a bit longer than Shea. And I think he can be I think he's a bit better defensively right now as it stands. But offensively, like I think he can score from all, and Shea can score from all three levels as well. He struggles a little bit from three still, but he's improved this year by far from what he has in the past years. But I think the three-level ability that Jalen Williams has, I think he can knock down threes. Again, he's not a great three-point shooter yet, but I think he can get there. But it's just his body type, the way he can get downhill, the way he can finish in the mid-range is. There's some shots where it's like, wow, that's, you know, very Shea-esque of, you know, fadeaway jumpers. He had a couple in this game. Fadeaway jumpers that he's knocking down, runners going away from the basket that he hits. Like, if he can really get consistent with a lot of these tools and add to it a little bit, I think, yeah, he can be a bit of a better scorer than Shea. And I know that's saying a lot. Again, going to take a lot to get there and maybe a couple years to get there. But that is his ceiling in my eyes, is he can get there. He can be the number one guy overall for this Thunder team.
He's not really shot that well in this final series. He's 31%, but he shot 36% from three this season, the regular season. Now that was worse than last season where he shot 43% nearly. So I can see. I mean, you know, I will not say that I think that Jalen Williams could be better than Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but I appreciate the take here.
It's no slight to Shea either. I mean, he was the MVP of the league. I just truly think, like, ceiling-wise, high upside-wise, I think that's where Jalen Williams can get. We'll see if he actually gets there or not, because that's a lot. That's a big name, a big game to chase, but I think he can get there.
You've kind of been out here, you know, praising your players, and rightfully so. I'm going to take a little moment here to kind of dig into this a little bit. And if we would record this last night after the game, I would have been a lot harsher. And even probably this morning. But I've had some time to digest it a little bit, and I still kind of feel this way. And I don't know if Tyrese Halliburton's a superstar. You know, has he been a great leader through the playoffs? Absolutely. Did he lead you to the NBA Finals, back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals? Absolutely. However, the way he played last night, it's not like that was just a one-off, oh, Tyrese Halliburton had a bad game, Jet, you're overreacting. No, this happens once or twice a series where he just disappears. You know it's going to happen. I told you last night, I said, Rafe, I just know what's happening. Tyrese Halliburton's hyping up this game. Oh, yeah, we love the challenge. He's going to come out, and he's going to go 1 of 9 from the field, and the Pacers are going to lose by 15. He didn't even get one. And they lost by 11. He didn't play good in game 2. I don't care what the fourth quarter says. He did not play good in game 2. You can go back to closeout game on the road of course. But against the Knicks, he didn't play good in that game. He had 8 points, 2 of 7. He had I mean, you go back to the Cleveland series, 3 of 8 in game 4, 2 of 8 in game 3. He just has this game once a series where he completely lets you down. And he let them down tonight or last night. And I understand he's playing injured. I understand the right calf straight, whatever. But as you alluded to earlier, and we continue to talk about, everyone's hurt right now. I can't imagine that there's anyone on a basketball floor right now that is 100% healthy, not beaten up, not bruised up, not just honestly ready for this season to just be over and just recover and relax. You want to be the star player of a team. You got to get through it. You got to find a way. You have to find a way. And again, he's led them here. He is absolutely responsible for it, for the season that the Pacers had this year. But games like last night consistently happen, and it's getting to a point where it's just really frustrating to watch, especially when it's coming at some point in the series, and it's the NBA Finals. It just can't happen. So he was just not good last night. Hopefully, this is just an injury thing, and he can come out and at least put up a better performance in game 6. Because if he would have even played, 15% better than this, you could be looking at a totally different ball game.
Yeah, especially, you look at how close it got, and if Halliburton's in there and knocks down a couple shots and things get going, spreads the defense out a little bit more on that side of the ball, yeah, you're right. Who knows what we're talking about today? With Halliburton, we've kind of talked about it throughout the postseason of, finding that balance of being aggressive enough without losing, your playmaking ability and spreading the ball around to your guys, which makes the Pacers so good. Again, easier said than done, and especially easier said than done against a defense as good as Oklahoma City. I will say last night it looked a little bit different. It didn't look like he was not being aggressive. It felt more injury related, I guess. It felt, I think part of it was how long he sat was, it felt a little bit different. And he sits a long time sometimes with Carlisle and the rotations he runs, but last night felt a little bit different. And also, like, I don't know, he was passing up shots. There was a couple open looks that he got. He just didn't take. I don't know if that was injury related or if that was just confidence related because of kind of the rough night he was having. I don't know. But yeah, that kind of crept in again. Well, not really crept in. That was a problem for him in that game, was lack of aggressiveness. And again, it's hard against the Thunder, especially when the number one priority of their really good defense is keeping guys out of the paint. And that's what Halliburton wants to do to generate offense for himself and for others. So, hopefully the injury, whatever it is it's a calf strain, but hopefully it's not too crazy. I assume he's going to be playing as long as it's not. But yeah, an aggressive Halliburton is good for the Pacers and can generate wins for them, and that's what they need. And it just wasn't completely there for them in that game.
And I hope you're right. And I hope that it is just an injury thing, and he would never really get one foot in front of the other last night. But it's just these letdown games, and of course, these letdown games. He had one. Game 2 was a letdown. Game 4, wasn't great either. It was much better. But 1 of 7 from 3, dude. You hit a couple more, and this game could have went a different way. 1 of 11 in his last 2 games from 3 just can't happen. So something's got to change here. Again, injured, should be fine for game 6. He said he was going to be fine for game 6. I can't really say the sentence anymore. You got to go win this game, because that goes without saying. The last 2 games of the season, no matter how injured or beaten up and bruised you are, I need 2 more games. 2 more games. And then you can relax the whole off season until October. Hell, you could take the first month of the season off next year if you'd really like to. But in these last 2 games, you're just gonna have to have everything that is left in the tank.
Yeah. Obviously, 2 huge games left here. They've all been huge in the NBA Finals, but yeah, must win for the Pacers. I think if you're Oklahoma City, you're okay going 7, I guess, but I think you'd rather just close it out now and not have to worry about a game 7 where, really anything can happen. You've got the luxury of that being on your home floor, of course, but I'd feel better just closing it out if you can. But it's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy thing to do in Indy. Closeout game, like I said, on the road, those are never easy. You're going to have to play near perfect basketball to get that done. And we can kind of get into what we think will happen and kind of the keys to that game if you'd like.
Well, what was for you what you saw in maybe that part of Game 4 where the Thunder really came back and had a really good fourth quarter where they outscored the Pacers by 14? Was there anything in that fourth quarter that you saw that was changed that you think that the Thunder really should lead with here in Game 6?
Game 4, the in-game adjustment of having Shea screen and screen for Jalen Williams, kind of guard-to-guard screens, was a good adjustment, and obviously I think is what won on the game. Helped Shea get into his spots, helped him get him off Nembhard, who's defended him really well throughout the series. But I think the adjustment for Game 5 was the better adjustment that they should lean on heading into this game, of having more space, doing a better job of passing the ball, moving the ball. A key to the game, Mark Daigneault said before the game, was getting better outlet passes, and there was one to Wiggins that led to a transition 3. So things like that, I think, is what they should lean on more. Now, look, they're not going to make as many threes as what they did in this game. They don't shoot well on the road. I would presume that trend continues. Hopefully they don't only make 3 again, because that's setting yourself up to really have a tough game. But what I liked about the threes that they took, and specifically the threes that they made in this game, was I believe all of them were assisted on. There wasn't, I'm not a big fan of whenever they start settling for, off the dribble threes or step back threes. If you're going to take threes, have them on kickouts, on, as you said, the second chance points, the rebounds and kickouts that they got, or just within the offense and the ball's moving. Outside of that, though, continue to attack the paint. I think that's where the Thunder's best offense comes from. Continue to attack the paint, get to the rim. I thought Jalen Williams did a great job of that. That's why he had such a great game. Obviously, Shea's good at it. I think that's where you got to start offensively, is attacking the rim. And then defensively for the Thunder is to continue to play aggressive as you have before. I feel like they kind of lost that edge a little bit in games 3 and 4. They got it back in game 5. Keep that edge, continue to do that, and you'll at least have a chance if you're able to do that.
I think for the Pacers, it's going to be, first of all, defend the home court. I'm a big believer in you shouldn't lose on your home court anyways. You got to defend it. Thought they did a good job of that through 3 quarters, and then it just absolutely collapsed there in the fourth. I thought Turner played better in this game than he has all series, but still not good enough. And honestly, when Chet is playing the way that he is right now, he's just asking you to go out and play better than him. He's asking you, he's literally telling you, Miles, please just outplay me. And Miles Turner won't do it. He was better rebounding this game than he has been, but it still wasn't good enough for me. I thought there were a few that went the Thunder's way that should have gone to the Pacers, and Turner should have come up with. There was one Aaron Wiggins ripped away from him. That just can't happen. When you look at it over the course of an 11-point game that was at one point a 2-point game in the fourth quarter, with 7-8 minutes to go, 2 or 3 offensive rebounds that you felt should have went your way, they start adding up. And I thought that was a big point. So I'm looking at Miles Turner. I'm looking at, I guess I'm looking at everyone here. I'm looking at Andrew Nembhard, and I'm saying, listen, dude, we're really going to need you. Halliburton's playing injured. He's not doing great. We're going to need you to step up. You don't need to hit shots. Like, if you could come out and you can give 14 points, take care of the basketball. That's when the Thunder get hot. You turn the ball over 22 times. That just absolutely cannot happen again. Keep the ball in your possession. Grab your rebounds. The ones that you should get on the defensive side of the ball. Not too many offensive rebounds, and they're going to grab some. You've got a 7-2 center, and you've got a physical center, and Isaiah Hartenstein. You're not going to get every rebound, and that's okay. You just have to limit it, and I think those are the keys to the game. I thought the bench was pretty well in this game. Obi Toppin was fine. TJ McConnell was really well played really well. Ben Mathurin was just abysmal in this one on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, I'm going to need to see it from Nembhard, and I'm going to need to see it from Miles Turner. Aaron Nesmith played a really good game. I would like to throw that out there as well. Need to see more of that. But I'm really looking at Nembhard, and I'm really looking at Miles Turner.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the Pacers, look, however Halliburton's able to play or whatever limitations he has, I don't think it's necessarily anything to fret over as a Pacers fan, because the Pacers, in my opinion, are the best basketball team in the NBA. Like, they don't solely rely on Halliburton to score 25, 30 points to have to be able to win. Now, it helps whenever he's able to get 20 plus for sure, and the numbers suggest that as well in their record in those games. But if there are, for whatever reason, any limitations at all for Halliburton, whether he's not as explosive or he's not as good driving the ball, I don't think it's too much to have to worry about as a Pacers fan. I don't assume he looks any worse than what he did in the previous game injury wise. I thought he was still moving well. This is what I mean by how bad he looked. I thought he was still moving well. He didn't look limited in any way in that sense. So I still think he's going to be able to go out there and have an effect on the game. I think it's just more, I don't want to say mental, but just more how aggressive is he going to be is what will help the Pacers win this game. So yeah.
So it comes down to this game 6 in Indianapolis. Boots will not be on the ground. Am I right on that?
Probably. I mean, prices went down a little bit. I was checking. I really want to go, but probably not. Probably not.
So a Boots probably not on the ground, but potentially on the ground. We aren't sure yet.
I would say I'm
Game
probably
6
watching this one from right here in this seat, more than likely.
And from that seat, who will you watch win? Will you watch the Oklahoma City Thunder claim their first NBA championship, or is this going to game 7?
We've kind of had this underlying feeling, especially after the series started, that this was going to go 7. I still feel that way. I still feel like this is going to go 7. I said at the top, I felt like the Pacers were going to win this game, no matter what happened tonight. If they won, or if they won Game 5, a chance to close it out on the home court, I felt like they were going to win that one. They lose, you have to win now. It's a win now situation at home. I still feel like they win with in that scenario. So I think this one's coming back to Oklahoma City, and we're going to have a Game 7 in the NBA Finals.
I don't really want to. I don't think that. See, I'm really fighting here because I don't think the Pacers are going to lose 2 games at home. But it just feels like the Boston series in the Eastern Conference Finals last year when Halliburton went down after Game 2. And it was just like, all right, season's over. I'm not saying that, the injury is as severe, but there's so many question marks around. There's not as many question marks around the Thunder right now as there are the Pacers. Is Nembhard going to give you a good game? Is Miles Turner going to be able to rebound the ball? Is Nesmith going to be able to replicate this shooting performance? How is the bench going to look? Is Halliburton okay? There's so many question marks for this Pacers team right now, and you're looking at the Thunder in the last 5 quarters of basketball. Well, I'll say 4 of the last 5 quarters of basketball. They have looked like the best team in the NBA. And when you're getting and I keep saying from this performance that I don't think the Pacers are going to shoot that bad again. And they're probably not going to. You know what? I guess I just talked myself into it with that. Shoot that well. No, I didn't. I'm taking the Thunder to win this game 6. Listen, I'll say this. if what everything I just said about Halliburton, if you let an opposing team come in and win the NBA Finals on your home court, that'll really set the standard as well. So defend your home court, force a Game 7, but I think there's less question marks about the Thunder right now than there are the Indiana Pacers.
It's fair, but I think the Pacers, they win this one. Backs against the wall. I think they come out on top.
You've said that literally about every game this series. So
no, I picked
I
picked the Thunder for this past game.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, we're gonna go. Hopefully, channel our inner TJ McConnell and Jalen Williams here. A few minutes. My computer's about to die. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know your pick in the comments below. Check out our socials: Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's Off the Tracks. Peace.